we will never be the same. We will change. We always change, but when I mean we will never be the same, I'm talking about our world. We're moving through a dramatic change in our world, and I've been speaking about it for quite a while. And even a message on my site, anyadvicefortoday.com, on today, it says, you will never be the same, meaning that we are each changing and we're changing internally. We change through our consciousness and how much we decide to raise our consciousness because we each have a unique plan that we're meant to live, and that is owning who we are, becoming our authentic selves. But a lot of times that becomes really challenging and difficult, and it was challenging for me. But I went back to find something. I did a channeling session yesterday because we had a new moon, and it was really powerful, and I had all this information coming through. It'll be published later, but it surprised me how much I was trying to get out because I understood so much and I wanted people to have this information. But then I went back and I found something that I created or wrote in August of 2022, and it said, "You couldn't hear me." And what I was attempting to do was explain how I have done all of my work. Because, see, I have received all this information for more than 35 years, and any of you who know have gone to my Wilhelm sessions, you've heard it. But it is what transformed my life because it's just access to ultimate, to consciousness, universal consciousness. And what this work does is connects people to their authentic selves, their mission, their soul mission, because that's what I know every single person has. But we just have all the other stuff we have to move through. The world is doing that now. That's why we're seeing everything happening. I've been talking about wars that we could have them for the longest time because we must understand its energy and it's old energy. And if we don't let go of it, we still keep creating more of them. But what happened in this, wrote what I wrote, I said, you couldn't hear me, but I also had Wilhelm come in and share the message because it always comes through much clearer when I'm able to channel and get the real information. So I want you to hear it, but it's also, I want you to understand this is why I brought back my program, 4 Weeks to Your Best Life, because that's the thing that's changing lives and causing people to move through this period, this transition, so they can become productive and live their lives in a greater way. And then we all contribute to the changing of our world because that's going to keep going on. We're not ending what's happening now tomorrow, but if we understand what's occurring within us, then we can make the greatest difference. So I want you to hear this.
We are so pleased you're here, and we have waited for you your entire lives. And we know we say that all the time, but whenever you show up, it will make sense to you. And it doesn't matter when that might be in your life or the time in your world. We had a question for you today, and that is, which world do you want? Yes, you are creating it. You're creating it in your life, and you're creating it in your world at large, the collective you. The division that you are witnessing in your world is the division that exists within you. And that is you not accepting who you are, you not loving yourself in every way possible. If you had done that, your world would look quite different. But you still have the opportunity, which is why we came today to give you this message. Now, we will give you several things that you find difficult to believe, just as Roger did. And he said, more resistance than many of you, but you all have resistance because you don't understand what is occurring in your world. You are evolving, you are ascending, and that is what is happening. And we've given you all this information, but you found it challenging to accept that we gave it to you in 2012, but we assure you we did. Last night, we had him program a message to send out today, and we said, none of this is new. And what we meant was that he knows that he has this memory. We've spoken of it often. He has an ancient memory where he can feel what is happening in the world. He's known it. He has precognitive senses where he can tell you what is coming, and then he has to act on that. However, he has not owned it, just like you have not owned some part of you. You each come into the world to perform a mission, and that mission is to love yourselves. And you have to do that by moving through your restrictions and limitations, and you have them. You bring them into the world from your ancestors, from everyone who has come before, and what you have been given is so unique and so valuable, but you've doubted it. But now, if you change that, your world will change as well, which is why you're here. You're moving through this period because your world needed a change. We've told you often about your weather events, and you're seeing those now. And that is because of a lack of love of yourselves and of your world, of your planet. That is all. And so, but you have a chance to change it. Nothing is set in stone. This is why we said that the world that you want to see is not guaranteed. We've said that so often. If you were to go back and hear any of our recordings, but we know many of you haven't because you don't think that it would make any sense to you. And more importantly, what happens is that you doubt yourselves. So it's challenging for you to listen to something outside of what the known to you has been because it becomes frightening. But we prepared you because we gave you Roger. He has all of this information, and he had to get to this next level in his development, his evolution, to be able to provide it for all of you. But he still resisted. He had so much doubt when we told him, we gave him all the information that you could use during this period. Then we kept moving it along. We finally had him change the name and say, calling it your last development program, because he knows that he has the answers, but he doesn't want to own that. And he holds himself back. You each do this in different ways. Now you will have to discover the way that you have held yourself back. And you know you've done it in some way. Because if you still have anger, you're not being your authentic self. If you're still upset with something going out in your world, you could change it if you decided to become your authentic self. There is no soul that has more than you. We've said throughout all of our talks, there's no hierarchy of souls, meaning you each have the same ability. However, when you live your lives where you deny that, you start to feel this fear and this inadequacy that causes you to become angry. And you have to work through those particular issues if you hope to live the life that you were designed to live. And that's what we mean. You were designed to live a particular life that was glorious and wonderful and prosperous and all of those things. However, you have to move through your blockages. Every human has them. You all have them as you come in. But you are meant to do something different. You're each unique. We've said over and over again, you are unique and the same. And that is the work that we gave you. We wanted you to understand that you would start to see these divisions, and they're generational. You're bringing in all the things from your ancestors, you're putting them together, and all of you want to be right. But if you understand that, because we've given you so much of the information, we said that you're all looking for the same thing: acknowledgement, acceptance, and approval. That's all. And if you could just understand that simple concept, you would give so much more love to yourselves, and then you would pass that on to others. Now, can't you see how that would change the world? But we knew that you had these things you needed to move through. You each have different evolutionary paths, and you will go through particular things in your life. Your chronological age, as we've said, has nothing to do with it. Roger went through all of his earlier illnesses and diseases and accidents and failures and all of that early in his life so he could be here now. But he still has that last one, just like you do. And his has been, no, I'm not going to put myself out there. No, I'm not going to say what I know. And let me sabotage myself by making the doubt so apparent in the work that I'm doing and not charging enough money for it so no one will have it and I won't have to be seen. That's what he said to himself. You each have done that to a certain degree because you are so powerful. You've heard it over and over again. You've heard it in your churches or synagogues or wherever you might go, wherever you do, or you might say, no, there's nothing else out there. There's nothing that exists beyond this thing that I can see right in front of me. That's all that there is. And you know that is not true. But the idea of that unknown is frightening for most of you. And it's been frightening for Roger. We gave you something several days ago, but we're going to give it again because there is a connection that we would like all of you to understand because you have it. You have a divine plan of your life that you're meant to live, and you're doing it now. Now, this is an extraordinary time, as we've told you. None of you have experienced this. And the reason that Roger has this memory is because he understands what was going on. We took him back. He didn't know what 2012 meant. He had to go back and see that, but his memory does. He doesn't study any of these things. The information comes to him. He's intuitive. He gets all of this. And that's why he can look at you and see what is holding you back. He can look at you and give you advice as to how you can move through your difficulty, because he's done most of them, and he's done most of them beyond this lifetime. Not we reveal things to him as well as you revealing things to yourself. Your higher self is doing that, but you each have it. But what you're doing now is expanding, and we're giving you this because you're going to see things in your world, which we've been telling you for quite a while, that's going to seem to you disruptive. And it is to get you to awaken. That's all. You can't bring something new into your world, because you're all here to create a new world. That's what you're doing. That's why you decided to be alive during this particular time in your Earth's trajectory. That's what's happening. And that's why it looks so different and frightening. But there are many here who know what is happening, and Roger is one of them, and he's been holding back, and he can no longer do that. It's been torturing him. And what he's done, and we'll just tell you because he's been talking to you so much about his program, because he just wanted all of you to be so much better. He wanted you to be happy. He wanted you to move through your fear and doubt, which is what he had to do. And he's walking around feeling, why do I feel good? But they're all frightened. Not to that degree, but we know that you're uneasy. And we gave him something last week. We said, talk about this. There's an elephant in the room. You see, because that's what you're not acknowledging. Your world is changing and you're splitting apart. And yes, there'll be different beings who are splitting and have very different ideas and beliefs than you. That's supposed to happen. You can't create anything new without contrast, without differences, without choices. We told you more than a year ago you would have to choose. And you're at that place now. But what we want you to choose is yourself. We wanted you to choose love. When we first started telling you about the restructuring, we said that it was happening because you forgot to love yourselves. That was one of the very first messages that we gave you. And that was more than 2 years ago. However, you couldn't believe us. You couldn't believe us because you have doubt about yourselves. That's all. This is why you go to churches. This is why you study things, but you have limited awareness. You can only think of your leaders and your religions and your Bible and all of that from your perspective, but your world has existed far beyond that, and there are many other beings, and you just happen to exist at a period of time in your world where you are experiencing a great restructuring. That's what we told you. And so, yes, it's going to be challenging, but it could be great if you decided to get out of the way and start loving yourselves. That's it. And you have something that you're supposed to do. You're not necessarily supposed to do what Roger's doing, and this was challenging for him, but now he's accepting of it, and you're going to get to that place as well, because all he wants now is to work with those people who want to access and develop and own every aspect of him, because he knows how to do that, but he's holding it back, just like you've been holding something back. But what you were given is important. See, that's the other thing. Each of you think that you have to do some monumental thing to make a difference in your world. No, your existence is enough. And if you could cause your existence to be wonderful and light and loving, you would change the world. But you have to move through that. You have to be willing to take the steps. You can't sit and not do anything. Now, we know that you can see what is happening in the world, and many of you have had a lot of fear, many of you have a lot of anger, and that we took Roger through releasing his anger, because he came in with biases. You all have them. We had you see an article that we had him write several years ago, admitting that he might be slightly racist or misogynistic. Because see, you all have something. And if you can't see that, you can't heal it. You can't cause the division to heal if you're not willing to look. And so that's why we said there's an elephant in the room that all of you are tempting not to see. You're ignoring it, but it's there. But the wonderful thing is you could make this so much better. And we gave you the way to do that, because all we wanted you to do was love yourself. Give yourself prosperity, give yourself happiness, give yourself love. And you do that moment by moment, working through your restrictions, your limitations, and the judgments that you have placed on yourselves. That's all. And this world could be so much better. Well, it's already going to be better. We've told you this before. It's moving in a different direction. You can't stop that. But what you can stop is your enjoyment of it. You stop that by not being willing to go to the next level of who you are, developing that next thing that's in front of you, deciding to believe in it, deciding to know that you have talent and ability and gifts. There's not a single person born, not a soul in the world that does not come in with gifts, but you judge them in a way that doesn't allow you to own and understand your worth. You see, now Roger knows he's done that his entire life. As we've said, we've talked about this openly because we want to talk about it again because we need you to understand the shift that is happening in your world is a wealth and income inequality that has existed throughout eons, not just in this particular time, but it's gone on for a long time. And then the inequality. And we used women because we knew that would be an important one for you to see and look at because women in the female energy of your world now was necessary to bring in that nurturing, mothering feeling to balance out the anger that some of you have had. That's all. And as you do that, you'll see things start to shift. Now, we'll get Roger out of the way so that he can start doing more because we told him you've got to take this to others. You have to take it to more people. See what he's done purposely. Sometimes you do this, you put yourself in the wrong audience because then if no one's going to hear you, then you don't have to move. Many of you have done that in different ways, and that's what he's done, and he knows it, and he has to change that because he wouldn't be able to exist. He's always used financial restrictions to hold himself back because if you can focus on that, you can't focus on the bigger picture. You see, which is becoming more and evolving. That's all. In our work, we told you all the physical things don't mean anything. You don't you don't keep them. You're only here for a while. You're here to develop your soul, you see, and you use everything physical to do that, but you do it collectively. And as we said, Roger was given the goal of working with science, spirituality, and human development. That's why we call it development. He has a plan that could help you develop who you are as humans, that your world will be better. It goes on all the time. If you look at your world now, you see it doesn't look, as we've said many times, the way that it did thousands of years ago. It's quite different because you go through these processes and you are existing in the world now because you are an integral part of this transition. But if you don't own who you are, that energetic connection, that energetic impetus, the what you have to offer will not be felt. And we mean it's you. There's no one who's devoid of this. You all have it, but you doubt it. That's all. You just have doubt. And as we said, we've given you all the work in our work in 2012, but we've given it to you throughout the years. What we put up on the other day, we wanted to show you that Roger's known this for a while. He's just tried to hide it. He's hidden it away. Many of you have done this because you think they're going to judge me. People are going to think something bad about me. No, you've been hiding. You must release that because you are meant to be exactly who you are. And this thing about worrying about what others think of you has held you back because you're meant to be this unique, dynamic individual. And all you have to do is work through the restrictions and limitations that you have placed in your mind. You control everything by the way you choose to think and you form perceptions. Now you have to deal with your human bodies because they have certain requirements, like even in your mind. Even though you get a new idea, it doesn't actually start to manifest in your life right away because you have to allow that to happen. When we started bringing this information through to Roger, it took a while. We've told you often we don't have to go revisit that because you've heard it in our live conversations. It was torture to get him to speak, but it got uncomfortable for him to withhold because he knows what is happening. He knows what he could do. He knows the difference that you could make. And that's why he's doing it. And he must move to his next level just as you are doing now. That's why you're all here. But we will say there are many who will not understand this, who will never hear us, and will choose and will not accept it. There are many who will just run the minute that we begin to speak because it's too outside of their realm of understanding. You are different. You know this. And so it's your responsibility to own who you are, love who you are, stand up, be your person. So you start shifting your world because that's why you're here. And there's a balance that needs to happen. This is why we're saying not everyone will have this, but you needed to look at the others, as we've told you often. You needed to see the others so that you could choose who you want to be. And there'll be choices that you're going to have to make, and most of them, we've told you, will be political in your different countries, but it's happening all over. You're going to choose whether you want to live in democracies and freedom, or you want to live in autocracies and dictatorships. That's what you're choosing, and you can see it everywhere. We've given you all the tools of this, all the ideas, all the ways of examining this, so you would know. But that is what is happening. However, but we're so excited because we know that if we get more of you, because we don't need that many, you see, and this is what Rogers had the problem with. He says, well, if I work with, if I can get a whole bunch of people, he's always done this his entire life, and this is his downfall. He's done it so many times. He's gone broke so many times because he's trying to save everyone. He's trying to save all the others instead of focusing on who he could work with, that he knows energetically would make the biggest difference because they would shift the energy of your world. You have to stop playing small. And each of you have done that in certain ways in your lives, but it's individual. It's whatever you have done. You are expansive, multi-dimensional beings. Some of you will accept that, and others you will later, because it's what it is. So when you leave your physical body, you figure this out. But we've given Roger this information because he has this memory, as we've told you, that goes so far back. He was uncomfortable when we started taking him back to some of those things, and he's like, how do I understand this? You each have that in our work, and we're going to leave you with this because we would love for you to read what we have put together. We'll put one message in this recording that we would love all of you to read because it shows the connections that he's had forever, but you have them. The only reason we do this is to get you to understand that you understand things in hindsight typically, but to understand that you have a path you're meant to follow. You're on it now, and whatever is in front of you, yes, make it better. If you don't like it, you're supposed to go somewhere else. But what you're supposed to do is be your authentic self, meaning that you have to get to that place where you love every aspect of who you are. There's nothing about you that's wrong, nothing about you that is bad. You just have to figure that out, and that's why you're here now. And if you do that, your world will be quite different than what you are seeing. And this is why we came, and this is why we gave you our work. And we can't force you to have it, but we will make Roger give it to more because he knows the difference that this could make. But please understand, you are choosing which world you want to live in. And you're doing it now. And you're doing it by whether or not you decide to love yourself. We know that might be over your head, but just think about it for a while. Just logically think about it. If you had a planet where everybody was walking around loving themselves, do you think that you would see what you're seeing now? Would you be burning your planet down if everyone were loving themselves? No. You would make different choices, but you're in that process and you have another year to go, or a little bit more probably, but we're going to be with you. And what we're going to do is continue our work because it's so much fun. The more that we can see you evolve and get rid of your fear. We thought that we had given you so much of that when we had Roger write the book on fear, but it's still something that you're going to continually move through, and there'll be more. But if you understand what is happening, you're going to move through this so much better, and you will live the lives that you were always meant to live. And we will be here, and we will help you, and we love you so much. We are complete.
That was 2022 in August. And Yeah, I just read something from a quote from Steve Jobs, and it said, "Those who are crazy enough to believe they could change the world are those who will." And I am that crazy. I know that we can do it because I've already done it in my life and I've already put people into my program who have done the same thing. The more of us who understand our importance, our worth, find our purpose, connect to our soul's journey, because that's really what it is. We're not here forever. But the more people who do that, we start to see something very different in our world. And again, I have to stop playing small as most of us do because it doesn't seem like we have what it takes to make that huge difference, but we all do. And just check out everything. Look at my 4 weeks to your best life, but also listen to the testimonials of those who have done it. This is why I'm going to be taking it so much bigger. All right. Have a great day.